if they want, invest in solar and get the benefit of lower electricity bills. And two, there's massive grants available for doing just that. There's a massive grants available from the federal government. It's going to travel through the Ohio state government. But if this was a community solar field as opposed to just a municipally owned one, there could be significant savings in terms of construction costs. And I would be more than happy. I actually have a fair bit of experience as grant writer. I'd be happy to work with the city to help you guys flesh this idea out and see what kind of funds would be eligible for. So that's the first point. Second point, the city is approving $100,000 for a study of our grid. And I also made this point to the city council before. That study should include the idea that eventually all the houses in all the available roof space in Bowling Green might someday have solar on it. And so we shouldn't just prepare for big industrial customers that might be coming. We should also prepare to become much more self-sufficient in terms of our energy, in terms of being able to put more solar on the grid without straining our grid. So if we're doing this big study for the future, worldwide, solar is the future. In fact, in 2024, I don't know if you know this, but nationwide this year, probably in about a month or so, wind and solar generation will finally have passed coal generation as the largest source of electricity in the United States. So if we're preparing for a future with a study, we should study the solar future too. Another point that I wanted to make about rooftop solar, there have been articles in the BG Independent News that data centers are considering moving into our region, and I don't know if any of those would want to hook into Bowling Green's grid, but as you know, they have a significant draw, especially for cooling. And so the Municipal Utility Board could make a rule saying that data centers are required to have rooftop solar when they're constructed because they have huge flat roofs. They take up a lot of area that could easily handle solar panels, and they would have the benefit of shaving off the peak demand because when these data centers need the most power is when it's the hottest out, and that's precisely when solar panels put the most power in. And so it would help keep our grid stable. It would even reduce the costs for the long term for the data center, even though it might cost them a little more in construction costs when they first go up. But again, if we're looking to the future, solar is the way of the future, and data centers apparently are also the way of the future. So why don't we be a leader and combine those by regulation? The third thing I wanted to talk about, a little less rosy, and basically the solar penalties that we've talked many times before about it. Just this past January, I gave you folks a report that demonstrates that the city is making 5 times as much because I have solar panels on my roof than if I had never put the panels on. And so the idea of penalizing people who put solar up has no rational basis. And so, in fact, the penalty is so effective, this $4 per installed kilowatt every month, that as far as I know, for years now, the city's been held to only 10 buildings that have solar panels on them. As you know, Leatra Harper has brought suit against the city because of this penalty. And I just want to ask the question, the stated reason for this penalty, even though I do not agree that it is a rational reason, the stated reason is you want to protect ratepayers from subsidizing people who have solar. So you're concerned about basically ratepayers losing money. And so my question is, how many years is it going to take in the solar penalties that you're charging the 10 of us that have solar panels to pay the bills for the lawyer fee firm out of Perrysburg that you've hired to defend this policy. In other words, it seems to be you're going to be taking more money out of the pockets of Bowling Green's ratepayers trying to defend an irrational policy than you could ever hope to recoup as long as that policy's in place and there's only 10 people paying it. So those are the points I wanted to make. If anybody has any questions or comments, be happy to chat with you. If not, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Do we have any others?
No.
All right. With that, we'll go into director's reports. Brian?
All right, thank you. Just have one item on the agenda for your consideration, and that's a request to transfer property in Woodbridge Business Park. There's actually three resolutions to go with this, and I can explain as we go through the discussion here. So as you know, over the past several years, we've done developments in Woodbridge. It's been one of our most successful business parks here in Bowling Green. There's others around town, but none quite as successful as Woodbridge. Just some recent developments in 2017. Woodstream Drive was extended to the east for a warehousing project, and then after that, there was a building constructed for an industrial customer that moved in there. They're in operation now, been a pretty successful project. In 2023, Woodgate Drive to the south was extended down to Wooster Street. There was a 100,000 square foot spec building that was constructed by a private developer. And that building has already been leased. Actually, it was leased prior to it being completed. That's projected to bring 120 new jobs to the city, and there's the potential that that building gets expanded beyond 100,000 square foot building. There's also additional buildings, property that's available in that 40 acres along Woodgate Drive. Dawa is a business that's already in Woodbridge, and they're looking to expand potentially to the south into that property. In 23, we received $1.6 million grant through the state of Ohio. It came through Bowling Green Economic Development and the Ohio Logistics, which was a developer for that project in 23. But the funds are routed to the city. So that money was used to help pay for infrastructure costs that went into putting the road and the utilities that were there. We have a very similar opportunity that is in front of us now. The parcel that was being considered to be transferred to the Bowling Green Economic Development was bought in 2019. It's 40 acres, a little bit over 40 acres. It's just east of Woodbridge. And it's a long Poe Road, and Carter Road will be the eastern extent of it. But the property was purchased for $1 million, and Ms. Thompson has negotiated a purchase price with Ohio Logistics for $35,000 an acre. We paid $24,000 an acre roughly. But Ohio Logistics plans to put another 100,000 square foot spec building on the property. Similar to what they did here recently to the south and on Woodgate Drive, where it was leased and it's already being planned for development as an industrial building. Per our past agreements with economic development, when they've been transferred to the economic development group, we receive a credit on our annual dues in future years. So in this case, we would receive $405,000 of a credit for future dues. A rough cost estimate for the project to extend road and utilities would be a little bit over $2 million. Katie believes that through the state of Ohio, we could get about $1 million in grant to pay for the infrastructure cost that goes into that project. So that would leave a little bit over $1 million for the city to fund to pay for the infrastructure improvements out there. I believe we could do engineering in 2024. We had a consultant on board. With construction to occur in 2025, so we have to put that in our 25 budget plans. We didn't have this money in our 2024 budget because we didn't expect the project to be moving forward or the need for the funds. So the second part of this is some supplemental requests in our budget. So the first request is that back in 2019, the purchase agreement for the property was for $1 million. We paid $800,000 in 2019 at that time, and the agreement said that they would hold, or we would hold, or they would withhold a $200,000 payment to the owner until the property was sold, and it gave us 8 years to pay that owner the remaining balance of the money owed. The loan, so to speak, does accrue interest after 3 years, and so we've had 2 years of 5% interest on that agreement. So we need a budget supplemental to pay the current, or the previous owner, sorry, the previous owner for the $200,000 plus small interest amount of money that is owed to them. We also need a budget supplemental if we're going to perform engineering for the project. I estimated it'd be around $200,000 roughly to get us through engineering. Again, that's based on the estimated construction costs for the project. Ideally, we can get the work completed in 2024 through design, and then at sometime in 2025 be ready to go out for bids for construction. Don't really know what the details of that look like yet as far as extending the road to the east. There's been talk about not connecting to Carter Road. Maybe putting in a roundabout or a cul-de-sac at the end of Woodstream Drive just before we get to Carter Road, mainly because Carter Road is a county or township road, and not sure it really would hold up well to the industrial or the construction traffic that might be caused to go on to that road network. And so trying to avoid that, it would keep the road and the traffic internal to the project and to the property. But again, that could change. We're still in the very preliminary stages of this right now. It did give you an aerial map that shows you where that 40 acres is located. Again, you can see Woodstream Drive there. Woodstream Drive right now, currently, it serves the warehouse, the other smaller building that was to the east of it. That's where the industrial customer moved in back in, I think, 2017, 2019 timeframe. And also there's a driveway that goes to the south down to the FedEx building that was built here a couple years ago. Woodgate Drive doesn't show up on this map yet because the picture is too old, but you can see to the south of Woodbridge, there is the name Woodgate Drive on there, and it shows a line for where that road is at now. So that road is constructed, it's there. The spec building is also not on this aerial map because it's not, the aerial image is just older than what the building has occurred out there. So that's what I have for you. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And Katie's here as well. She can help address anything that you might have for her.
I mean, it looks like a lot of, moving the money around, but from a budgeting standpoint, not anything that's going to throw us significantly off for the year.
No, there are adequate funds, unappropriated funds in these accounts to pay for the expenses. The property payment of $200,000 and some change for interest. Again, those three were from the electric and water and sewer capital reserve funds. That's where the original purchase was made from. And so we're proposing to use those three funds for the same purchase or expense to pay the previous owner. And then the engineering costs coming out of the 4017 fund, that was the same fund that we used for the Woodgate Drive expansion when that was done back in 2023. So trying to utilize similar funding mechanisms, similar funding sources and accounts that, but all of them have adequate funds to cover these expenses.
Okay. Any other questions? Are there any motions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move we approve Resolution 06-2024-01, authorizing the Utilities Director to transfer approximately 40 acres in the Woodbridge Business Park to Bowling Green Economic Development.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, Michelle, would you call the roll?
Newlove,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Suzik.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Any other motions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move we approve Resolution 06, 2024-02, authorizing Utilities Director to execute a construction agency agreement with the Wood County Port Authority and enter into contracts for engineering services for utility and right-of-way improvements for the expansion of Woodbridge Business Park.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, Michelle, would you call the roll?
Suzik,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Newlove.
Yes.
Last call for motions. Any other motions?
Sir Chair,
Yes, sir.
make a motion to approve Resolution 062024-03, authorizing supplemental appropriations.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
No, sir.
If not, Michelle?
Newlove,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Suzik.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Anything else for us, Brian?
I don't have anything else for you. Jim would be here, but he is in California at the APPA National Convention. So he'll be coming back at the end of this week, and he'll have more for you at our next meeting.
Very excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, let's get into management reports. Electric, John.
We're still replacing poles out on Haskins Road, and we just finished up on Ranch Court with new wire and poles.
All right, thank you. Water.
We did have Newton Tower inspected a couple of weeks ago, and everything was good, so just an annual 5-year thing, so we're all good.
Thank you. Water, talk about
I've got one for Mike. if you
water
don't mind.
pollution.
For Mike Johnson, I can give you an update on Pearl Street. So we've had that under construction for a little while now. Been a few weeks hammering rock. Rock has been getting worse for us. It's actually been coming up as we've been getting closer to our finish line. That has delayed the project a little bit. We are setting the manhole at the deepest point at this time right now, so that'll be another day or two, I think, to get the manhole set. And then after this, the sewer will rise in elevation, so we'll be either taking out maybe 1 to 2 feet of rock at this point going forward instead of 7 feet or more. So that should help us with progress. We think we've got about another 10 to 15 days to put in pipe on Pearl. That would include additional sewer work and water line work. But again, since we're out of the rock, that next phase should go a lot quicker. And then after that, we'll move into the road work portion of the project. So looking forward to that.
My wife was asking for an update on pearls.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, water pollution.
The haydite material arrived, the guys are washing it up, cleaning it up, and then we'll get it scheduled to be installed into the biofilter.
Excellent. Thank you. Business office, Jackie.
No report.
No report. Love it. Official reports, Mr. Mayor. No report. Administrator, Lori. No report. No report. Attorney, no. Public Works, no. Engineering.
Pearl Street, we started a paving project today. Milling just started this morning, and they got all the milling done, or they should be getting it done about right now for today. And then we'll do any base repairs tomorrow, and then followed by paving. Then they'll move over to Sandridge from Winter Garden to Main Street and get that milled, and we'll do the same thing. Gypsy Lane, that'll start milling on Thursday by a different contractor. It's a separate project. So then they'll start paving next week for that. The Village water line, you probably saw the message board out on Poe Road for the last few weeks. That started today. They're doing a couple water line tie-ins at Revere and Village Drive. So they're making those tie-ins, and they'll pay that next week and get that open back up again. And then the South Main water line from Ordway down to Gypsy Lane, that should start here in the next few weeks.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Communication, wow, I can't say that word. Communications.
Hopefully I can say that word. Just to tag on to what Brad said, just a reminder, the cities for a few years now has been maintaining what we call the CAP map, or the capital projects map. And that includes all big-scale utility projects and paving projects. So with the amount of work that we're about to see here over the next few weeks, We link that in every weekly e-news. It's linked on the website, but we work with the engineer's office to make sure that's up to date, and we try to update that as we can to let folks know how things are progressing. So if you do start to get questions about some of these projects, that might be a good first resource to check.
Awesome.
Other than that, no report.
Excellent, thank you. Council member reports. You back there? Board member reports? Any new business, old business? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All of those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
You get an email, that weekly email? I want to see the website, I'm sure, I don't know how I signed up for it, but I think it's just.